if I want to convert this so that each line, there's a line of data and then a blank, I can do it automatically by using VLOOKUP. So normally this would be on another sheet, but just to make it easier, I've put it here. Notice there's my data, and I've created here a cell just to help, and you'll see it's in even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8. Up here I've just got some column numbers just to help us with the VLOOKUP. So all I need to then do is create where I want the actual data to appear. And notice here I've got an index, but it goes through all the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do a VLOOKUP. So what are we looking up? We're looking up that cell over there. So look up the 1. And I know I'm going to use this again and again. So I'm just going to put a $sign on the A. Where must it look it up? This area over here. So you'll notice I've highlighted the whole area. Again, I know it must stay still, so I'm going to put my $signs on. What column must it bring through? Well, that's why I've got these helpers up here. Instead of me typing 2 and then 3 and then 4, I'm going to say just look at that cell, and I'm going to put the $sign on the 1 because I always want it to look there. And then what must it look up? Must it find exactly the number 1 or not? So I know it needs to be that, so I'm going to type false. So when I say OK, you'll see I get an error message, but that's not a problem. When I copy it down, you'll notice there's an error message, then it's a date, then an error message, etc. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy these across. Now I'm going to be a little bit careful. If I copy it across, there are dates here. They could cause the formatting to be not pleasant. So I've copied it. I'm going to right click and just paste the values. So you'll see we're almost there, but these error messages are a problem. But this looks like it's working. So all I'm going to do is go to the first one. I'm going to say if error open bracket. If it is an error at the end here, comma, and I'm going to want a blank, which is just 2 inverted commas next to each other. Close it, click enter, and now I can go copy, paste as values, and now it's created it, and when you put new data in, it'll update. Occasionally you get data like this. You'll see the income statement, but it's sorted from the last year to earlier years, and we actually want it the other way around. So we're either going to manually move it around, or a better way in Excel to do it, we highlight that data, click on that data, and the sort button. Now sort normally sorts in rows, but you'll see over here there's an option where we can say sort from left to right. So I'm going to click on that and say OK. It's now asking which row do we want to sort by, and you can see it's this one here. It's row 3. So I'm going to say row 3. And we can decide we want cell values A to Z, Z to A. So I think it's going to be A to Z. We click OK, and you'll see it sorts it immediately so that we go from the lowest year to the highest year. Just be careful when you go back into your sort. The default is now like this. So what you need to do is, if you want to do a normal sort, top to bottom type sort, you need to change that over there. If you have data and you need to insert blank lines between each line, so one way for bigger data sets is over here. I'm going to just create a column to help me. I'm just going to put a 2 there and a 4, and then I'm going to copy that down. So all I've got is even numbers. And over here I'm going to continue, but I'm going to put a 1 and a 3. So all I'm creating is all the numbers, but the even numbers have got something in it, odd numbers don't. Now what I can do is I can highlight that area, go to data sort, and this is column J, and I'm going to say go from smallest to largest. When I say OK, you'll see number 1 goes up, it's blank. Number 2 sits here, it's got stuff in it. So you've created blank, data, blank. If it's a smaller data set and you want to do it manually, so the bad way to do it is to go to each one like that, because that's going to take you forever. just going to undo. You also can't do that and insert because they'll all move. But what you can do is by clicking on the first one, holding your control key down, and then clicking on all of these individually. When you've highlighted them all, now you can go to any one of them on the actual number, right click. When you say insert, it will individually go to each one and insert it. When you want to reverse data, sometimes you need to know a little trick. So here we've got dates. In theory, it should be quite easy. This is the latest to the earliest. In theory, we should be able to go sort on the date. When I say OK, you'll see it's got a little bit confused. But more importantly, it's not seen the date, it's actually seen the letters. So you'll see the Aprils are together, the Augusts, etc. So I'm just going to undo. So the way around this is to create a little column. I'm just going to put a 1 and a 2 here. And all we do is we create each line has its own number. And then it's as simple as highlighting that area, sorting. This time we're going to say sort on column C. This is going smallest to largest. We want it the other way around, largest to smallest. And we say OK, this is now reversed, so we go from the earliest date to the latest date. In this example, we've got a lot of data. I need to remove all these blanks, but I don't want to do it manually. I don't want to go and do it like that. So a quick way to do this is firstly, we're going to use one tool to identify the blank cells. So I'm going to go and highlight all these cells, and under Home, on the far right, it says Find and Select. I'm going to go to Special, and there's an option here called Blanks. When I click OK, you'll see it activates each blank cell. So now what I can do, I can go to any one of them, right click, and there's an option here called Delete. When I click Delete, all Excel wants to know is, what must it do? Must it shift the cells up, which is exactly what I want. When I say OK, it does it all to all of them, and you'll see there are no more blanks. Just be careful if you use this technique. Moving cells around does affect formula. So just think carefully whether you want to do it that way. In this example, we've got some data, but for whatever reason, we need to have a blank row between each of these. And actually it needs to look like this with these dashes. So we need to do some sort of an upload. Now obviously this is very small, but we could have a lot more. How do we do it in as useful way as possible? Easiest way is I've created a helper column. And over here, I'm going to put a 1. And then I know this needs to be the third line, so I'm going to put a 3. And I could continue with odd numbers, or I can highlight that and let Excel generate the odd numbers. I now need to fill in the gaps, so I know it's going to be 2, 4, etc. So I need to put a 2 here, put a 4 here, and I know I need to get up to 10, and I need it to look like this, so just to make my life a bit easier, I'm going to do that. And now it's as simple as highlight that whole area, go Data, Sort, tell it to use the helper column in cell values, in this case smallest to largest. When I say OK, you'll see it does it. And now it's taken these either blank lines, or in this case very specific lines, and put it in here. Now if we needed to, we could delete that column. This is a common issue in Excel, columns that aren't wide enough or rows that aren't high enough to be able to see the contents. So in order to be able to see it, you can either manually move it. If you double click, it auto-fits it. You can actually do it to multiple columns. So I've highlighted those 4. When I double click, they all auto-fit. You can also, let's say we want these. I'm holding my control key down now, and again, I've highlighted those 3. If I, instead of double clicking, I resize that to, let's say, that width, these other columns are exactly the same width. So you can actually move it around and get the columns to be exactly the width you want.